Hi everyone, Therese here with another Karma Cards reading for you. Happy May 4th. May the 4th be with you. Oh, so many things to tell you. Again, my kids are in the next room and they are stir crazy today, and I'm about to tell you why. First of all, quick check. I just want to see who's feeling this right now. Anybody have keyed up energy? Give me a thumbs up. Anybody have kids or animals acting? That's my team. They're like, oh yeah. Anybody have that going on? How about tech issues? Anybody having tech issues? Like tech isn't working the way it should? Oh, I see so many thumbs up. People are like, yes. Let me tell you what's up right now. Schumann resonance, which I did a post today where I showed people a calendar of April, which was crazy, of the Schumann resonance, and all the white streaks are high frequency days. Well, when we get May's calendar, today will be a high frequency day. 91. Trust me, people are feeling it. My kids, my 5-year-old especially, children, okay? Children from ages birth to, I want to say 7 or 9, right in that window, are purely subconscious mind, right? They're purely subconscious mind. So they are just picking up everything in their environment and working with that without, it's not a conscious thing. They're just expressing their environment. My son is off the rails today, so don't be surprised if he comes busting in here or you hear him screaming in the background. He's been like cray level all day. I'm telling you, I'm so ready to be done. Yeah, so, okay. So that's the first thing I wanted to tell you is there's a huge spike in frequency happening right now, and we'll get there more and more. Go look at my timeline at previous posts of today, and you will see the little calendar image that I shared where you're going to see the month of April. You guys are so funny. You're like, yep, there. Everybody's feeling it. No. Oh, God, it's the cats.
Oh, my God, the cats.
Okay. Did you see what I mean? Save me. Aliens, take me away. Okay, so Schumann resonance spike is high. It's going to cause you to feel things emotionally. You might feel like keyed up energy. You might get flustered easily, overwhelmed easily, emotional easily. Breathe is number one. It's like, just know it's not you. You haven't lost your sanity. It is literally the energy of the planet is giving off right now. And I actually heard from another psychic source that tomorrow could be even more intense. So let's ride that one out. So I wanted to give you a few things that we could do to help us stay grounded in times of high frequency. Now, ultimately, I think that this is awesome. I am very happy about these high spikes, and here's why. Here's the benefits. Even though we're experiencing sort of the symptoms, there's also benefits. With this high frequency spike comes cellular upgrades. So imagine, right, that you're getting a frequency wave going, and it's like causing your cells to shake. Well, it's like shaking the shit out, right? Like it's taking that rug and shaking out anything unnecessary. So first, it's like free clearing for you on a cellular level. It's also cellular upgrades that are happening at the same time. So as these spikes happen, our cells are evolving. The planet is evolving, and we're evolving with her. So these are like little packets, little downloads that are coming in that are upgrading us. It also activates cellular memory. This is why a lot of us are having spiritual growth, healing symptoms, like going through karmic cycles, right? We're remembering things from our past where we're like, oh, I behaved so bad at that, or I wish I had changed that differently. We're getting a chance to review our life every time these cellular memory upgrades come in, not so that we can feel the guilt, shame, and whatever else is coming up, but so that we can see it and clear the karma. how you clear karma is you find compassion and forgiveness and love in anything that you're looking at. And that is how you end a karmic cycle. So if we're still holding on to any old emotional baggage, whether it's something we went through or it's something that we perceive as being our actions that caused the pain, it's especially the stuff that we're perceiving we did that caused pain. We are getting the opportunity to be awake to it, aware of it, see it with new eyes. Instead of going into a place of judgment, we can now easily go into a place of high compassion and find forgiveness. And when we do that, we clear it. We close the book on that thing and we release the karmic cycle. We go out of it. So karmic cycles, you only stay in it if you're holding on to shit. So the longer we hold on to anything, whether it's guilt, shame, pain, anger, frustration, whatever it is, if we're holding on to anything that keeps us attached to that scenario, we're staying in a karmic cycle. Anytime we can move into compassion, forgiveness, and even if you can get to appreciation, you've cleared it. And it's like you get to clear your slate. Well, all of this is happening right now with these high energy upgrades. Like I said, it's like shaking the rug, shaking the dirt out. We see the dirt. We have an option, we have an option right now to clear it. And if we choose to do that, we become free of a karmic cycle. That's one of the benefits. The other benefit is the cool things that it's doing to us on a DNA level. So there's a lot of stuff that has been tagged as junk DNA. They're already starting to discover at the same time as all this is happening, they're telling us that they're aware that what was once labeled as junk DNA isn't junk. They just didn't know what it was. All of that's getting more activated right now. So that's another cool benefit of this. Also, we are upgrading. So one of the things that my team told me years ago that I didn't understand is that we're moving into a more plasma-based body. It has to do with where we are on an evolutionary cycle. We're moving into a plasma crystalline light body. Now that doesn't mean that you won't have a carbon body, but we're actually moving out of being solely carbon on a physical level, and we're moving up. We're upgrading. We are evolving into a more plasma-based body. Now this is something that is still new for my brain to grok. So what I would suggest is, if you're like, what does that mean? Research plasma, but it's out there. I mean, people are talking about it and we're doing it. And this has to do with our multidimensional nature, the fact that we are not just physical beings, we are physical and non-physical, and more of us is non-physical than physical. So we're having a lot of upgrades and adjustments to that, and these energy spikes are a part of it. So we're just going through this window where we're getting like so many spikes. And it's pretty amazing. The next thing I wanted to talk about was, what can you do when you're in a time of so much uncertainty and you start to feel disempowered? So disempowerment, if we break down that word, it means that we don't feel powerful, right? We're feeling like we don't have power. And much of our perception of power, a lot of the idea of power, or what makes us feel empowered, is perception. And so when we can get into that headspace where we feel empowered again, then we can move, then we can ground. So I want you to notice that when you feel disempowered, does your energy feel shaky, kind of weak? Now I want you to think about a time when you felt empowered. Your energy probably felt deep, grounded, and rooted. So you can kind of tell. You can start there and just check in with yourself right now. Stop. Close the door and quiet. My Lord. Check in with yourself right now. Like, I'm going to check in with myself, because this kind of stuff, this is a perfect example. Let me use this as a teaching moment. no matter how much I ask or try to get quiet so I can do my thing, he's going to do his own thing. And from that place of feeling like I don't have control, I create a sense of disempowerment, right? There's a little bit of like, there's push between us, and I feel like my will is not working or not getting met. My will is mommy. The authority of mommy is not being met. If I stay in that place, I start to disempower, meaning I'm giving energy to that thought and saying, right, I'm not being respected or taken seriously. And I start to give energy to that. Well, I want you to see what's happening there is I'm literally giving that energy away, giving that power away. So what I can do now is simply recognize that I've given that to a 5-year-old. I've literally made a 5-year-old more in control of a situation than me by simply agreeing with the thought that I have no control over the situation, which is not true. I do have control. I have control over my perception of the situation. So if I can lock into that first, I can recognize that, number one, I can have compassion and empathy, right? Today is a high energy day. He's little and he's stuck inside thanks to quarantine, which is just a recipe for suckiness for 5-year-olds, right? So I can know that this is not about disrespect. It's literally the situation is hard for him to maintain control. Also, he gets very excited when I do Facebook Live because he knows you're all there. He can feel you. So he gets like always a little keyed up by that. So that's another layer. So I can see that and I can go have compassion and I can find that place where I'm almost appreciating how excited he is to know you're there. That brings my heart a lot of warmth and joy. And that, again, I start to ground when I feel that. 2, I can realize that I've just given my power and control away, which means I wasn't focusing on me and my reaction. I was focusing on the outside world. So what I can do now is I can pull that attention back. I can call here's what I want to teach you. Just call all pieces of you back to you now. Anything that I've given away of my own free will, which I recognize, I now call back to me now. So I call all pieces of Therese back to me now. And what I visualize is just like puzzle pieces or shards of a mirror maybe, or something where they're kind of coming in. They're coming from all directions and time and space, and they're coming together, and I see it forming a more unified picture. And as that happens, again, grounded, solid, peace, and notice his behavior. Notice how quiet it got as I started to focus on what I can do, my perception, my giving away of my energy as I called it back to me. Now, I'm not saying I'm controlling the environment. I have no control over the environment. I have control over myself. But notice how when I brought my sense of power and control back to me, peace in the environment. So I want you to practice that for you, because this time period is a great teaching period for embodying power and recognize what we have control over and what we don't, because it's always going to be true. On a good day, it feels like everything's working for us or everything's going our way. On a bad day, it can feel the exact opposite, like nothing's working and nothing's going our way. But what is always true is that this is what we have control over right here, and all of that behind us and around us was never in our control. It's all about perception. So as we just focus on calling that awareness and power and responsibility back to us. So perception is our responsibility. We get to have whatever perception we want. That's totally up to us. Whatever that perception that we're choosing brings us is our responsibility. Area of control that we've always had, area of power, personal awareness, personal reaction, what was never in control outside of us. However, when we get when we get this in order, when we re-empower ourselves, the outside world seems to realign, right? Already, you can kind of see my example. It's already realigning itself. It's already easier to be with. Share with you something. It's still it's a raw thought. Came last night in meditation that I want to share with you. I'm going to be refining this, but it's about this idea of coherence. It's along the same lines of re-empowering ourselves. Okay, and it says, all right, so here's the raw thought for you. Peace within, peace without. And we did that a little bit. I showed you right before I got coherent. There wasn't a lot of peace without for me. But as soon as I focused on appreciation or understanding, compassion, and then recognized that I was giving my power away and called that back, peace without. Okay? So some of you know and some of you don't know that a lot of my teachings started with what's called holistic intelligence. And holistic intelligence is a term that my team taught me in regards to where our intelligence lies in ourself. So most people attribute intelligence to, your mental dexterity or what you know or what you've learned, right? That level of intelligence. But as time has progressed, we've learned that there's more than just mental intelligence. There's emotional intelligence as well. And along those lines, what I actually got is there are 4 types of intelligence that we all have with us. We have body intelligence. And those of you who are actor friends of mine, you will remember this well, where we learned all about, what the body knows and stores. Those of you who are healers understand body intelligence, what the body knows and stores. We have emotional intelligence, heart-based intelligence, which is our guidance system. It's telling us if we're in alignment with ourselves or not. We have our mental intelligence, which is, helping us coherently understand what's happening in our lives based through our perception. Our mental intelligence helps us to organize it into a linear thought or a structure that we can follow. And then we have our spiritual intelligence center, which is literally the power source of all other intelligence centers. Tristan, quiet, bud. Going back into peace. Okay, so we've got these 4 intelligence centers. And ideally, when we're in holistic intelligence, all 4 centers are working together. And last night while meditating, I got that there's something called holistic coherence, where all intelligence centers are working with integration and cooperating. And this is really interesting because until we understand that there are multiple levels to our intelligence, to what is receiving or giving out information, we are not necessarily in a holistic state, nor are we in a fully coherent state. So again, this is a raw thought that I'm sharing with you. It came through last night and I'm still unpacking it. But they pointed out to me that there is one center that goes out of coherence. And out of the 4 I named, I'm going to say them again. You tell me which one you think it is. One of these centers goes out of coherence. Body, heart, mind, spirit. Out of those 4, which one do you think goes out of coherence the most? Out of those centers, one of them goes out of coherence the most. And this one center actually can resist the other centers. It actively resists the other centers. The mind goes out of coherence the most. And it's the one that is most resistant to the other centers. So again, the body center of intelligence, the heart center of intelligence, the mind center of intelligence, and the spirit center of intelligence. Now, no one of these is better than the other. They are meant to work together. Like if you want a fully coherent system, if you want to be fully alive and in alignment, you need all four working together. The mind goes out of coherence the most because of the programming that we've been given societally of leaning towards the mind. All of the societal training, all of the traditional training has been pushing towards the mind, bringing the whole system out of balance. And in this time period that we're in, cohesion, coherence, and balance, integration, all of that is what is needed. So let's talk about this a little bit. I want to tell you the functions of each center so we can kind of understand who they are and their important jobs, because all four are important. So let's talk about the body. The body could be called either the library, which I love to think of it like that, or the historian of experience. The body is the historian of your experience, meaning every single thing that has happened in your life has been recorded in your body. For those who have gone through any kind of Feldenkrais training, any kind of body work training, you will know that memory and emotion are trapped in the body. And especially things like trauma, PTSD, painful memories or emotions are held in the body and usually can turn into minor aches and pains to complete ailments. So the body is a historian. It also remembers good things too. It's not just remembering the negative, it remembers everything. It's the historian, it's the library, it's the record keeper. Everything about you has been stored on a cellular level. That's why when the Schumann resonance increases like this and it shakes the heavy stuff out, you're having bursts of memory. That's what's happening. So the body is very important. It's the historian of experience. Thanks, team. The heart intelligence center, the heart is the guide of experience. The heart is I am kind of biased towards the heart. I love the heart so much, and I love learning about what the heart is here for us, how it's here for us. The heart is the guide of experience. It holds the soul blueprints. It holds your contracts. It holds destiny. Destiny are your soul blueprints. It holds soul purpose. It is a compass pointing at true north always. And that true north is your soul purpose or destiny, whatever you like to call it. So the heart is always letting you know if you are in alignment with your soul purpose, your destiny, or out. And it uses the emotional center to help guide you, right? Good emotions mean in alignment. Negative emotions mean out of alignment. And they're all there to help you get back on track, help you stay in alignment with the soul. The heart, right, it's also your gateway. It is the gateway all the way to your non-physical side, your astral body, all of that. It's connected in here. So it's the guide. It's like a Sherpa of your experience. The mind, its job is the reporter of your experience. It's telling you what this means. It's reporting on everything that's happening. It's trying to make a cohesive story out of what it's seeing. So that's what its job is. It's telling you, when it gets the memory, it reports the memory to the historian, the body. So it's telling you what this emotion means. It's giving it a storyline for you to follow. The spirit intelligence center is the observer of your experience. It's also empowering the whole experience. It's the force behind everything that's happening. It is bringing that to life for us. And then it's witnessing. It's the witness or observer of experience. So when you see these centers like this, I don't know about you, but I'm like, I want all of that. I want the records. I want the guidance. I want to understand it through the story, and I want to observe it. So these are all things that we want to have happen. But imagine what happens, because it happens to us all the time, that we are so programmed that the mind is the power, or the brain is the power. The brain, the vagus nerve that goes between the heart and the brain, there are two of them. The connecting points, the nerve going from the heart up to the brain is something crazy, like 3 to 6 times larger than the nerve coming from the brain reporting down to the heart. Even our body, even our body chemistry and makeup tells us, what the more important center is, and it's not the brain. Even though we give it a lot of attention, it's just part of it. But remember, it's a holistic system. We don't want to lose any of it. All of it's important. When the reporter gets to be the one in charge, though, the reporter doesn't have the compass, meaning, the mind does not have what the heart has. The heart has the compass pointing at true north, which is soul purpose. So imagine now, instead of letting a guide lead you up a mountain, and a reporter doesn't have the compass to the terrain. I mean, this is what we have let happen to us. And so many of us are already moving away from that because we feel it's off. It didn't work. Like, we gave it a shot and then we were like, that doesn't work. And we've been trying to find our way back to alignment. And most often when we get back to the heart, we're like, oh, right. I knew all along what my purpose is. So I want to look at what happens when we let the mind lead, and why it goes out of coherence if the mind is in the lead. So I want to look at this because I find that the heart, the body, and spirit tends to work together naturally. They don't fight each other. The body is not fighting the spirit, and the body is not fighting the heart. They're more cohesive. The mind is the only one that seems to be able to push against something. So let's look at that really quick. When the mind pushes against the idea of spirit intelligence, when it tries to rationalize it, it says, well, I can't see it, I can't touch it, taste it, smell it, or hear it, so it doesn't exist. That's when the mind pushes against spirit. And I don't understand. I mean, I've never been disconnected from spirit energy, so I don't quite understand that perspective. I would have to hear someone who could explain that to me, because what animates us if it's not the spirit? I don't know that argument. But that's what happens when the mind is pushing against spirit intelligence. So we are beings of free will, and we get to have the experience we choose. It is our choice. Nobody gets to tell us our experience. Many people try to influence, but we ultimately choose. So if we choose to push against spirit intelligence, what we do is we cut off ourselves from that center until we decide to reincorporate. So when we're cut off from that center, we feel disempowered quite easily. Nothing makes sense. And when the outside world goes into chaos, like, I don't know, in 2020, when it goes into chaos and it no longer makes linear sense, then we have nothing to turn to and nothing to re-empower us, because it all feels out of our control. So that's what happens when we have discoherence between mind and spirit. When the mind pushes back against heart intelligence, what happens is life has no purpose or meaning, right? We're pushing against that, and we tend to minimize emotions. Emotions aren't important. They're just a reaction, and they make us look weak or stupid or whatever it is that comes up when we push against the heart. We start to feel apathetic towards life because there's a lack of point to it. We don't feel the guidance. Again, because we get to choose our perception, we can cut ourselves off from heart intelligence. And when we do that for too long, we actually cut ourselves off from compassion, forgiveness, and appreciation. All those things feel very hard to get to or go further and further away. Again, at any point, we can choose to reconnect. That is totally our choice. But this is what it looks like when it goes out of coherence, when they push against each other. And then another one, and I think that this one has been used in programming specifically on women, although men, I'm sure, experience it too, to some degree, but I think it's women specifically, this one has been targeted, is the body, the mind attacking and rejecting the body. So when the mind fights against the body, it denies the body. It sees the body as an enemy. It sees it as something that is dissenting or malfunctioning. And that causes pain and separation from the body. And again, what's interesting here is the mind is the only center where it can create a story. Okay, that's really important to understand. The mind is the reporter. The mind creates the story. So when the mind pushes against any of these centers, it gives that center almost a persona and says, my body hates me, right? My body hates me. My body is refusing to do what I want it to do. We don't see that that's a thought that creates a reality, as we personify this body as our body is fighting against us. And a lot of us have experienced that. And here's the truth. The body doesn't create stories. The heart doesn't create stories, and the spirit doesn't create stories. Only the mind does. So the body is in complete, the body stays in coherence with the rest of us. The heart stays in coherence with the rest of us, and the spirit always stays in coherence with us. Our perception blocks us from seeing or perceiving that. So really what we can start to understand here is that until we start to see these centers, thanks team, until we start to see these centers as non-enemy territory, which means the mind needs to stop telling that story, we might not be in coherence. So here's what I perceive about most people I work with, that there is a lot of coherence for the most part, but there's usually one center, sometimes two, that the mind is rejecting or pushing back against or has a story about. So again, this just came through yesterday in meditation. I know there's going to be more to it as I embrace the information and let it come in. But what we can know is if we feel out of alignment, we should be looking at the stories we tell ourselves about these different parts. Like, do you feel that your body is your enemy? How can you rewrite that story? Meaning, what proof can you give yourself that your body is not well? It breathes in and out without me thinking about it. My heart beats constantly without me trying. Every day it wakes up, no matter how emotionally or mentally abusive I've been to it, right? So we can see that if the body keeps coming back, I get a wound, my body instantly starts cleaning and healing it again. So we can look for evidence that maybe the stories we're holding about these other parts of ourselves is false. And we can see that the body's been like it's been committed to us the whole time. And then we could start healing and bringing that coherent connection back. And then we can also go straight to the mind. Obviously, the plot here is that the mind is the one who's out of coherence. Everybody else is in, heart's in, body's in, spirit's in, mind's not. So that's the center. That's kind of like the secret, I think, is that we've got to understand that this is the center that's out of coherence, and it's the one telling us stories. Just like I told a story earlier that my peace was being taken away by a 5-year-old. As soon as I recognized that I was giving my peace away, the story changed, and for the most part, it's been a lot easier. So I hope that was helpful. As I get more information, because again, life is a school in a way. it's not a school in the sense where we didn't know this information. It's more a school in the sense that we have to remember this information. And if you need to understand that thought more, my last podcast called 2020 in the Galactic Storyline explains to you why it's about remembering versus learning. But I hope that helps. So now I'd like to go into karma cards with you for this week. Again, it's a high energy week. We're starting off at 91 and we have a full moon coming up on the 7th. Lordy. Like it's going to be epic. I mean, that's a big energy to have. And then all of this incoming flux of energy coming in. So if you want to, I will put a link somewhere when I finish recording for the next spirit circle, the full moon spirit circle. If you want to join us, it is a circle meditation that I lead where we look at the cosmic alignment, see what the planets are doing and what the messages are that are coming through. And then full moons are all about letting crap go. So I'm going to be talking about mental incoherence and how to get back into alignment with our whole holistic energy. So if that sounds like something you want to do, I will post a link. You can join us there. You get the recording, and there is also live psychic Q&A after those sessions. So I hope you can. This reading is for today, the 4th through the 7th, through the full moon. So what we're going to do is look at the messages coming through. These are the karma cards. There are 3 decks, the planets, signs of the zodiac, and houses of astrology. I've already asked my team, what's the message coming through? And they've given it. There are 2 sets of answers, action in red and outcome in blue. And all you have to do is decide what feels most in alignment for you right now. Do you need to know what actions over the next few days to focus on? Are you looking for an outcome around these next few days as the energy accumulates to the full moon? Like I said, it's going to ramp. Energy ramps up to a full moon and then releases as the moon starts to wane. Here's the flavor of this reading. It's the South Node, which is about the past, in Leo, in the 12th house. Now, this is all about the hidden, subconscious mind, secrets, all of that stuff. So it's very deep work that they're going to be talking about, specifically about the past. And it's just dawning on me that it might be about the stuff coming up out of our cells, out of the library of the body. For those who are choosing red or action, here is your spiritual action. Remember leadership, seeking oneness with all there is. Remember leadership, seeking oneness with all there is. I feel like that's directly talking about recalling your power back to you. Now, you may have remembered in a few karma cards back, I showed you 0 point in manifestation, where I showed you the energy going from hope to decision, hope being a weak point, decision being a very strong 0 point, and external to internal. And the reason I bring that back up is it says, remember leadership, seeking oneness with all there is. Well, the external to internal is where you are placing the power source, and source being the key word, right? Power source, God, the universe, the infinite creator, all there is, internalizing that. So remember leadership, seeking oneness with all there is. I keep getting that this is about bringing the power back to you. When you bring the power back to you, you strengthen your own energetic field. Not only do you feel empowered, but you're actually connecting with source energy. Because the source is inside of you. It's inside all of us. And yes, it's all around us too. But the strongest point of connection isn't connecting with source in a leaf. It's not connecting with source in the sun. It's connecting with source inside of you. That is the strongest point of connection. For the leaf, it's the strongest point of connection inside the leaf. And the sun, inside the sun. But for you, inside of you. So remember that. Mental action. Reconsider the creativeness of philanthropy. I like that. Reconsider the creativeness of philanthropy. This is about giving. Philanthropy is about giving without expecting a return, right? When we give freely, free giving. And I mean, I remember feeling so disempowered myself in the past, in the distant past, that I didn't have a lot of material possession. I didn't have a lot of money. And I felt like because I didn't have those, I had nothing to give, which is BS, right? So look at it. Are you limiting free giving? Are you limiting your own philanthropy? If you feel like you don't have a lot of material possessions to give, you have an infinite resource of something else. Here's the one I discovered. I have an infinite resource of support. That's why I come here on Facebook Live every week, because I have a deep well of supportive energy. I have a positive perspective that I like to share. There's a lot you have to give. Look at if you're limiting it. So reconsider, what can you give of freely without expecting a return? When you find that, give it freely, right? I mean, like, just give it freely, because here's the beauty. We were all given gifts. We all have multiple gifts that we're given in this life. Sometimes it's talents, sometimes it's strength, sometimes it's vitality. Look for your gifts. You have so many. Oh, thank you. You have so many gifts you were given. These gifts that were given to you by God or Source or whatever you want to call it, they were not given to you for you. These were the gifts you came in holding to give. And the more you give your gift, the greater and stronger and more potent your gift becomes. So give that away like it's going out of style. Give it away like it is going out of business. Like you can't get rid of it fast enough. And do it without expectation that anyone's going to see it, recognize it, validate it, appreciate it. That's a tough one for some of us, is to do it without expecting someone to be like, wow, you're amazing. Just do it, because it redoubles. If you feel like you're low in vital energy, give something, right? That doesn't mean don't take care of yourself. There's always a balance. It's never about depletion. Source would never want you to give to depletion. You give what you can, and then you must fill up your cup again. But every time you give, your cup gets bigger and deeper and more profound. So reconsider the creativeness of philanthropy. You have something amazing to give right now. Physical action. Now is not the time to do what you want to and keep your involvement hidden. Now is not the time to do what you want to and keep your involvement hidden. Yeah, I feel this is not a time of hiding. Everything's out in the open. This is fourth density detox vibration. People are getting more astute, okay? Like the world in general, every time we get these frequency upgrades, we're no dummies. We're getting more and more astute. We are able to tell when someone is hiding, BSing, not being honest, not being authentic, right? So no, hiding is not an option. For those of us who are comfortable hiding aspects of ourselves, we have to get really comfortable working with hidden aspects, right? Which means do the healing work, do the shadow work, do the integration work. I do not feel that with this astuteness comes great judgment. I do see great compassion and understanding. But I do also see that if people sense someone hiding, it's almost like you're asking for a microscope to be placed over you. Like people are going to look into that. It is a time of, again, great astuteness. People are aware, they're paying attention. And truly, this is a time where the subconscious mind is really bubbling up and coming forward for people. It's coming forward. The subconscious, even the unconscious is coming forward to be seen, to be healed, because it's part of the evolutionary process at this time. There's nothing to be ashamed of. Shame in itself is something that has to be worked out. In the last Spirit Circle session, I talked about compound emotions. And shame is a mixture of fear and disgust. Compound emotions take a long freaking time to heal because it's not a pure emotion. So I'm just going to give that one to think about, because we keep things hidden usually out of guilt, which is a compound emotion of fear and joy, meaning like, I really love this, but I'm kind of worried I shouldn't. So that's guilt. And shame is a compound emotion of fear and disgust. Like, I can't believe I did that again, right? Like, I'm so disappointed and disgusted in myself, right? So these things are being revealed not so that we can be judged or shamed or continue that cycle of karmic emotional abuse. It's coming out so that we can heal it. And once we realize that we all carry these compound emotions and work on those, we're actually doing the trauma recovery work that will free us out of that cycle. Okay. So it's not the time to do what you want and keep your involvement hidden. It doesn't mean you're not going to do what you want. It means that this is a time where maybe what you want is to hide. Can't do it. It won't happen. We're in a time where we're rapidly being confronted with that which needs healing on all levels: internal, interpersonal, societal, global. All of this is coming up to be healed right now. It might not be what you want to do. Healing might not be on the books. You might want to be like, I want a vacation, and yet good luck on that one. Not only because it's coming at us from all sides. You're going to be confronted with it. So it's kind of getting into that place again of surrender and understanding that we are being forced to look at things that make us uncomfortable, but it is for the highest good. Okay. So now let's look at blue or outcome. No more secret squirrel. No more. No more super spies. No more spies right now. All right. So for those who chose blue, both, or outcome, your answers for the southern node in Leo in the 12th house of subconscious secrets and all that good stuff. The spiritual outcome: there will not be self-confidence to create your faith. Whenever the south node comes up, it always feels like a bummer, but we're going to stick with this because it's about healing. There will not be self-confidence to create your faith. I think what they're trying to say right now is that it's going to be hard to tap into a reserve. Oh, my phone just lit up on that. Okay, so hear me again. It's going to be hard to tap into a reserve. If you're like, oh, I need more faith. I need more self-confidence. It's kind of like you got to work with what you're given right now. Sorry. And they're telling me it's kind of on purpose that way so that you will. Hold on, I'm just listening. Yeah, okay. They said that when you keep tapping in to other beings, higher angels, all that stuff, you are discrediting yourself. They're like, work with what you've been given. And geniuses know how to do this. This is, and they just buzzed on that one too. It's MacGyver time, guys. Like, meaning like you're given a wad of chewing gum and a paper clip, and you're going to make an explosive with that, okay? There's no extra stuff. They're exactly super flower full moon. It's a big one. It's a potent one. There will not be self-confidence to create your faith, meaning wherever level you are at, work with that, okay? So if you're like, I don't feel confident, acknowledge, admit, and say, what can I do from here? There are resources, but you have to pick up what's around you. You know, sometimes the most beautiful creations are made by limits being placed on us. And I can tell you that as an artist. In fact, if I want to create something that I think is beautiful and powerful, I purposely put limits. I put limits, like I'm only allowed to do this with pencil and watercolor, or I will only use 3 colors, right? The most ingenious and beautiful and fun creations are made when limits are placed. So they just want you to know, this doesn't mean there isn't resources, but you have to work with what you've got. So if you have a tendency to call in extra support, they're like, you know, tie your own shoes right now. You can do it. Show me how to tie your shoes. That's what I keep getting. Mental outcome at this time. And remember, this is from now until the 7th, and the full moon is ramping up. So there's a lot of energy. It says mental outcome, anxiety about taking a chance on hidden tendencies. Again, so this comes from the fact that if you can't call on backup, meaning if you can't get someone to boost you or tie the shoe for you or get it started, that's going to make you feel like, if you don't feel the self-confidence boost, some people struggle. I had a teacher in college tell me that he would just let me struggle. It was a movement class where people could do like juggling and shit like that. And I couldn't, I was not good at it. And he never would help. I never got special time put aside to help me figure it out. He said with me that he would just let me struggle till I got frustrated. He was like, that's how you learn. You have to get all the way to frustration before you surrender. Because I guess it was about resistance, right? So I had to exhaust my resistance to surrender and open up to learning. It was not a fun way to learn, but sometimes it's effective. So what they're saying right now, anxiety about taking chances on hidden tendencies. So there's that, I don't know if I can do it feeling. Taking a chance is always a risk. That naturally creates a lack of confidence when we're taking a risk because we don't know how it's going to turn out. Hidden tendencies, confronting your shadow, confronting the parts of confronting fear, right? Walking right in that room where fear is and facing it is not easy for people. And that's going to cause, so the mental state is a little bit anxious. It's like, oh God, I know I'm supposed to do this work, but I'm not ready. And again, they said, use what you already have. Physical outcome, trouble resulting from the impressiveness of large institutions or overwhelming events. Taking a dramatic pause because I think that one's pretty self-explanatory. Trouble resulting from the impressiveness, which is a perception. And I'm going to break this down, but let me say it one more time. Trouble resulting from the impressiveness of large institutions or overwhelming events. Yeah, mic drop. So the word impressiveness comes from the card of Leo. Let's talk about this. So impressiveness doesn't mean it's literally impressive. It means the impression. Leo they are powerful, they are dynamic, they are creative, they are larger than life. That sign, that's their positive sign. The negative side is egotistical, showy, flashy, overbearing, right? These are the negative aspects. So in this case, I think it's fair to say that we're looking at a showiness. And all I want to say about that in regards to large institutions or events is that there are certain types of animals, a lot of animals do this, who when they are threatened, make themselves look larger than they actually are. So if I'm looking at my sweet little cats here, a cat will, flare up its fur, its tail puffs, they'll arch its back, it'll make itself look big and impressive. We've got the lizards that their gills flap out and they look all wild and crazy. Birds that do this with their wings and are like, right? I mean, that impressiveness, right? It's a showy, it's bravado is what it is. So what you can know about bravado, when it's a show, when it's false, when it's a big, scary looking thing, but it's not backed up by anything, what you know is that bravado comes from insecurity or lack or a feeling of not being enough, and it's not an authentic place. And so the idea is to create a more impressive exterior or a more dominating exterior in order to claim dominance. But the hand that it shows, the hand that bravado shows is, I feel threatened by you. So just take that in. Something that is throwing its weight around, anything that throws its weight around is using bravado. And the truth under that is, I feel threatened by you. And I just want you to take that in and remember about taking your power back. Oh, I just got there was some sparkles in front of me. I love that. Take that in. If somebody has to throw their weight around, if someone has to impress upon you how powerful they are, how impressive they are, how dominating they are, just sit back with that for a second. Because while all of us are feeling our own insecurity about having to face parts of ourselves or parts of society or parts of life that feel intimidating, something else is intimidated by you. And this whole time, I'm about to say something that it's my opinion, but I'm going to share it anyway. This whole time period, I feel was very manufactured. There's a lot of different reasons why it could be manufactured, but here's the truth that's coming in. Look at my timeline. Look at the post where I show you the Schumann resonance. Look at April. When were we quarantined, right? Most of us were quarantined around March 15th in the United States. Look at the in-streaming energy of this time. Consider what I'm telling you about the cellular upgrades, about parts of you coming online, about the karmic release and healing. All of this is happening, and then suddenly we're being suppressed and shut down. Who is so scared of this big wave of incoming energy? Who and what is so scared of all of this that it needs to suppress fast? This has been a slapdash job. I think we can all agree on it, no matter which way we're coming from. It feels slapdash, like thrown together quickly. And notice that the earth is empowering all beings. All beings are being empowered through this. And with that empowerment comes an awareness of who you really are and how sovereign and how powerful you are just by being you. And that's kind of awareness that people who want to control others don't want out there. So the fact that there's so much suppression at a time where there's so much energy, it just makes me go, so what they're saying, again, the final note is, you might not feel secure or like you've got this, but trust me, there's plenty to work with right now. There's plenty of energy right now to work with. Tie your own shoes. Okay. All right. Well, I think that this has been amazing. My kids have managed to keep it together for the most part, although you can hear it ramping up in the background. So it's probably time for me to wrap this up. But no, I'm right here with you. I get it. Know that If you're feeling out of control, if it feels overwhelming, just check in. Are you trying to control the environment? And if that's the case, can you let that go and just say, I'm giving my power away to this thing that looks out of control. And then just say, I call all power back to me now. And I really, the most powerful image I've gotten is like shards of a mirror coming back and forming the reflection. See it. And the more you can see your whole reflection, that's when if you can see your entire reflection, then you know all your power is back with you. And that's free. You're free to call that anytime you need it. I used to do this as an exercise before going on stage as an actress. And I had no idea at the time what a powerful tool that was, but I'm telling you, you will understand what your vitality level truly is once you call all of you back. Mwah! I love you so much. Thank you for staying with me, and I look forward to seeing you very soon. Thank you for watching. Subscribe now and hit the notification bell so that you know the next time I release a new video. Until then, stay magical.